Hey guys, welcome to chapter 2. Today we're going to talk about half steps, whole steps, and accidentals, which means sharps, flats, double flats, and natural symbols. Okay, so last time we talked about note location on the piano. Just to review, all these note names, if we start with middle C, which is to the left of these two black notes, goes 2 and 3, so any two black notes are C. Middle C, C4 as we call it, is in the center of the piano, like here. And if we start there and we walk up, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now, a half step on the piano is the closest distance you can move with no notes in between. So if you really look at the piano, I'm going to move my camera over there. A half step, usually, it's when you go from a white note to a black note. See that? There's no note in between. Black note to a white note, that's a half step. No note in between. White note to a black note, half step. Black to white, half step. And then look, these two white notes, there's no black note in between. That's a half step as well. And then half step, half step, half step, half step, half step, half step, and then two more white notes, half step. Okay? So it's the closest distance you can move. When you're moving a whole step, it's essentially two half steps. So a whole step usually is from a white note to a white note. Here, see that? C to D. There's this black note in between. Or from a black note to a black note. And this white note in between. Whole step, black note in between. Whole step, white note in between. The exceptions for the white notes, of course, is when you go E to F, remember that's a half step. So you'd have to go E to what we call F sharp. See? White note to black note, and there's a note in between. That's a whole step. Same with B to C, that's a half step, so to make it a whole step, we have to move to a black note. Okay? Now, the reason we talk about half steps and whole steps at the same time as sharps and flats is it teaches you what sharps and flats are. So think about it this way. When you sit on something sharp, you probably would jump up. I mean, at least I would. I'm not sure about you. So if I sat on something sharp, I would jump up. So when something's sharp, it goes up a half step. When something's flat tire, goes down a half step. So just remember that. A sharp looks like this. We all know it as a hashtag. A flat looks like this. It looks almost like the letter B, okay? When you have a note, let's put it in treble clef. So here's my treble clef, okay? When you have this note, let's take this one. Oh, actually, no, this one because it's there. This is our famous note, middle C, C4. I'm going to do a stem, which we'll talk about later with rhythm. This is middle C. If I don't have this sharp there in front of it, it just looks like this. Middle C. Let me move that forward so you can see. Okay? Remember I said a sharp raises something a half step? When I put the sharp in front of the note, in front, has to go in front, not behind, it goes from C up a half step to, you guessed it, this black note, what we call C sharp. So this note is now called C sharp. Let's go the other direction. We have middle C, right? And when we put a flat in front of it, I'm going to do it with the line. Here's C flat with the flat in front. We go down a half step. So with C, we go down a half step. It's a white note, but we call that C flat. This is C flat. Now you might be thinking, wait a second, that white note below C, I learned that as the note B. You're right, that is the note B. It is also called C flat, depending on the context you're talking about it. And you might also think, okay, C sharp, you go up a half step, that could also be D flat. If you go down a half step, it's D flat. So this black note can also be C sharp or D flat. We call that enharmonics, an enharmonic, when a note has two different names or more, but it's the same sound. So if I played this for you, you wouldn't know if I'm playing a C sharp or a D flat, depending on how I wrote it. It doesn't matter when you're listening to it, it only matters when you're reading the music. The context, don't worry about it now, we'll explain it more later. There's a worksheet in chapter 2, not a worksheet, but just a sheet, an informative sheet with enharmonics on it, both black note enharmonics, meaning the two names for the black notes, and some white note enharmonics, so you can kind of get a clearer understanding of that. If you have a scale, which is a series of notes in stepwise order, and it's made up entirely of half steps, it's called a chromatic scale, and it's 12 different notes long. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are all the different notes on the piano, and then just repeated throughout. All the different notes on all Western instruments. If you have a scale of only whole steps, that's called a whole tone scale. It's all whole steps, no half steps, and it has that really floaty sound. So anyway, that's half and whole steps and sharps and flats. One more thing, it's called accidentals when we're referring to sharps or flats. And if you want to get rid of a sharp or flat, for the next C, we have a symbol called a natural, and it looks like that. And that just means this is called C natural, or just regular old C, okay? So we played C sharp, C flat, and then C natural. Excellent.